You have no idea what I did at the end. And to be honest, neither did I until the silence gave me the answer. Let me take you back to where it started. Lily and I had always been a balanced couple. At least, that's what everyone said. She was graceful, well-spoken, thoughtful. I was the laid-back, observant type. We weren't flashy, but we worked, or so I believed, until silence became our poison. See, last fall, Lily had started having trouble sleeping. She said the noise of the city was getting to her nerves. Her therapist, yes, she had one for just about everything, recommended a mindfulness center in the heart of the city. They had this fully soundproof meditation suite. No windows, no clocks, no devices. Just you and your breath. At first, we went together. It was fine. I liked the quiet. She said it made her feel cleansed. But soon she started going alone. Twice a week. Then 3 times. Sometimes she'd say she needed the silence for her thoughts. Other times she'd say things like, "That hour in the room? It's the only time I feel like myself." I thought that was beautiful. I really did. So I encouraged her. I was the supportive husband, dropping her off, picking her up, packing her water bottle, even bringing her favorite snacks after sessions. It was a Thursday afternoon when everything changed. Lily had left in a rush for her session, and I had gone to clean out my car. That's when I found something wedged between the seats, an old Olympus voice recorder. My dad had given it to me years ago. I hadn't used it in ages. On a whim, I thought, maybe I'll leave this in the meditation room next time. Record the silence. See what it sounds like. Maybe it'll be peaceful. Maybe weird. Could be fun. Stupid, right? But that little moment of curiosity turned into a door I can't ever close. The next time Lily booked the room, I told her I'd swing by after work to pick her up. What I didn't say was, I had come an hour early, snuck into the room while the receptionist was distracted, and slid the recorder behind the small cushion stack in the back corner. It was so old school no one would notice. Then I left. I didn't even wait in the car, I went home. That night, Lily came back glowing. She said the session had been transformative. She even kissed my forehead and said, "I'm finally learning to let go." I smiled, but my hands were already itching to get that recorder. She went to bed early, so I grabbed it from my backpack and slipped into the garage, sat on an old stool next to the toolbox. I pressed play. Silence. More silence. 30 seconds, 1 minute. I was starting to feel dumb. Then something happened. A soft shuffle. Fabric rustling. Breathing. Someone else breathing. And then, laughter. Male. Deep. Cocky. Then Lily's voice. "You really shouldn't have made me laugh like that in here. It ruins the whole Zen thing." "You love it," the man replied. I sat there frozen. That was her. My wife. Not meditating. Not alone. I replayed that 5-second clip at least 20 times. I memorized the tone in her voice. Playful. Familiar. Not one of a woman cheating for the first time. She was relaxed. Practiced. It didn't stop there. More sounds. Whispered words I couldn't fully make out. Some phrases stung hard. "He has no idea. He thinks I'm healing. We're always safe here." My stomach twisted. It felt like I had just walked into a locked room, only to find my life dissected on the floor. But I didn't cry. Not yet. Not even rage. Just cold, quiet realization. Fitting, I guess, for a room built on silence. I didn't wake her. Didn't accuse her. Didn't even let her know I knew. Because in that moment, I understood one thing. She wasn't the only one who could use silence to hide. I could use it, too. And I would. I didn't sleep that night. Not even a second. Not because of what I heard, though, believe me, that alone could keep a man awake for days. But because of what I didn't hear. There were gaps in the recording. Long, suspicious gaps. The voice recorder was old. It had a voice activation feature, which meant it only started recording when it picked up sound. So between the laughter and the whispers, there were moments of complete silence. And that silence, somehow, felt louder than anything. What the hell were they doing during those quiet gaps? I didn't want to go there. My mind was already spinning in 100 directions. I had no proof of anything. At least, nothing that would hold up in a real conversation. If I confronted her now, she'd deny, deflect, cry. Maybe even twist it into my fault for invading her spiritual space. So I did what I've always done best. I observed. I started small. That Friday morning, I asked her if she wanted to grab lunch together. Just casual. She smiled, kissed me, and said she had a therapist session followed by a solo meditation. I said, of course, like the perfect husband. but I already knew she had booked the silent room at noon. I followed her, not tailing her like a movie spy, just nearby. I parked across the street from the meditation center. Watched her go in. Not alone. A man in a navy jacket with a familiar gait joined her at the door. He touched her lower back like he owned her. She didn't flinch. They walked in together. She lied to my face. Easily. Effortlessly. With a kiss. I sat there in my car gripping the steering wheel so hard it left red lines in my palm. That night, I acted normal. I asked about her session. She said it was deeply emotional. I asked, gently, "Did your therapist say anything interesting?" She blinked for just a second too long, then smiled. "Yeah, a lot, actually." I nodded. My stomach churned. That was the first time I noticed something in her eyes. It wasn't guilt. It wasn't fear. It was confidence. The kind of arrogance that comes from getting away with something for a long time. That's when I knew this wasn't a one-time thing. This wasn't a slip-up. This was a system. So I built mine. Over the next week, I tracked her routine, not obsessively, just methodically. Monday mornings, work from home for her freelance clients. Tuesday evenings, yoga with Karen. Karen lives in Chicago now. Thursdays and Fridays, always some kind of self-care. I wasn't looking for drama. I wasn't even looking for revenge. I was looking for truth. And the truth was hiding in the quietest parts of our life. She had this habit, always turning off her phone when entering the silent room. A rule of the space. No electronics. No exceptions. I started to wonder, what if I could use that rule to my advantage? I remembered that the old voice recorder had a sister device, a clunky USB audio bug I bought years ago during a phase where I thought I wanted to write spy novels. Still had it. Still worked. I tested it for 3 days straight. Plugged it into random wall sockets, checked range, tested battery life. It wasn't perfect, but it didn't need to be. I booked the room under a fake name, David Keller, and went in 1 hour before her scheduled meditation. I knew the room layout now. I slipped the USB recorder behind a fake electrical panel near the floor cushion. It had a 4-hour battery. It would catch enough. And then I waited. Back at home, I played her favorite show, poured us wine, acted like nothing had changed. She texted from the center. "Running late, deep in the zone. Love you." I stared at that text like it was a dagger with a heart emoji. She got back glowing. Again. But this time, so did I. When she went to bed, I retrieved the recorder, plugged it in, and listened. This time there were 2 voices. Not the same guy from last week. A different one. Younger. Nervous. She was guiding him, calming him, laughing in that same sweet tone she once used on me. Then a sentence that turned my spine to ice. "Don't worry. He never asks questions. He trusts me too much." That was the moment I realized. She didn't just cheat on me. She counted on me never looking. And that was the real betrayal. Trust, they say, is built slowly and destroyed in an instant. But rebuilding after betrayal? That's not about healing. It's about strategy. From that night on, I stopped being her husband. At least, not in the emotional sense. I became her observer. I wasn't looking for more heartbreak. I already had enough of that. I was looking for data, patterns, timelines, a way to catch the whole mechanism behind her lies. First, I mapped out her week. Literally. I opened a spreadsheet and logged everything. When she left the house, when she said she'd be back, what excuse she gave, what she wore, even her mood. Smiling too much after yoga? Logged. No sports bra in her bag? Logged. Sudden perfume on a Thursday morning? Logged. Within 5 days, I noticed something. The meditation appointments were always booked during the same 2-hour window on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Always after she sent me a cheerful good morning text. Always when my calendar said I had virtual meetings. And each time she returned, she looked a little clearer. Not happier. Not guiltier. Just more relaxed. Like someone who had hit the reset button on her double life. Next, I checked our devices. Not hers, mine. Her tablet had recently been connected to my laptop through Bluetooth. At first, I thought it was accidental. But then I remembered, a few months back, she said she had a glitch while uploading photos. Asked to borrow my laptop for a few minutes. I dug into my system logs. She hadn't just borrowed it. She had installed a backup sync for her cloud account, and then deleted the shortcut folder afterward. But she wasn't tech-savvy enough to cover her tracks completely. Using a recovery tool, I found traces of deleted temp files. One of them was a screenshot of a conversation titled "Silent Tuesdays, Smiling Face with Smiling Eyes." I couldn't recover the full chat, but that was enough. She'd been using my laptop to check her secret stuff because she assumed I'd never look. Because she thought I was that trusting. And for years, I had been. That part hurt more than anything else. I needed something stronger than voice recorders now. I needed eyes. But not cameras in the house. I wasn't going to stoop to violating her privacy in our own home. I wanted to catch her where she felt safe. Where she let her mask slip. The silent room. She always said it made her feel unreachable. So I made sure I could reach her there. I returned to the meditation center under another fake name, Mark Jensen. This time, I brought a decoy audio device and a pinhole spy cam, the kind designed for home security. Tiny. Wireless. Motion activated. Battery life? 6 hours. Video? Low res, but enough to show who's in the room. I placed it inside a hollowed-out base of a salt lamp that sat in the corner. It blended perfectly with the others. Then I booked the room for 3 hours. Just me, a yoga mat, and a plan. No one asked questions. The receptionist didn't even glance at my ID. They're used to weird people doing weird rituals in silence. I left the lamp in the corner and forgot it. That night, Lily announced she had a spiritual release workshop the next day. Guess where? I waited. I barely breathed. When she left the next morning, she kissed my cheek and thanked me for being so understanding. I smiled back and wished her peace. My heart felt like it was burning a hole through my ribs. That afternoon, I retrieved the device. I didn't watch the footage immediately. I needed to brace myself. I made coffee, sat at the kitchen table, and hit play. The video was grainy. The colors were off, but it was enough. The door opened. She walked in. Alone, at first. She turned off her phone, dropped her bag, stretched. 2 minutes later, a man entered. Not the one from the last tape. Not the young one either. Another one. He kissed her hand. She laughed and leaned in to whisper something into his ear. The audio was too faint to pick up, but the way she looked at him, not like a fling, not like a mistake, like someone who had complete control over the situation. She wasn't addicted to attention. She was addicted to power. That was the moment I realized this wasn't about me. This was about her. She needed to feel desired, admired, in charge. And she used that soundproof room the way a thief uses the dark, to operate without consequences. But I wasn't going to chase her in the dark anymore. I would build the light, step by step, quietly, because silence works both ways. And my silence was almost over. There's a difference between cheating and orchestrating a whole performance. And Lily? She wasn't just a liar. She was a producer, a director, a master of scenes and silence. And now I had enough footage to study her like a character in a film. That's exactly what I did. Every night, after she went to bed, I'd sit in the garage with my laptop, watching clips in silence. The grainy footage wasn't about catching her in the act anymore. It was about her posture, her tone, the way she leaned in, when she smiled, how she listened to each of the men. Because yes, there were more. I cataloged 3 distinct voices in the recordings so far. Different builds, different mannerisms. All of them seemed invested. None of them acted like this was a one-time thing. And Lily? She didn't stumble. She didn't fumble. She knew how to switch gears. With one guy she was nurturing. With another, playful. With the third, a little colder, almost dominant. It was like she had a personal script for each of them. Like she had rehearsed it all. One night, I paused a video at a moment where she looked directly toward the lamp. Toward my camera. She didn't see it. But something about the way she adjusted her hair, straightened her back, even shifted her tone. It struck me. She wasn't just acting for them. She was acting for herself. She liked watching herself play the part of the unattainable, spiritual goddess. And they all bought it. Every one of them thought they were the only ones who got to see behind the curtain. But I saw the backstage. And what I saw wasn't sexy. It was dangerous. That's when I shifted my mission. At first, I thought I was trying to confirm a betrayal. Now, I was trying to understand the scope of the manipulation. So I dug deeper. Using an old friend in IT security, Jake, I learned how to scrape her synced cloud account for metadata. Nothing illegal, just knowledge of where to look. And what I found made my hands go numb. She had a second phone, not a physical one, a virtual number, routed through an app she'd hidden under a fake wellness tracker. She used it to message at least 6 different numbers with romantic tones. There were no explicit texts. She was careful. No photos. No names. But the timestamps aligned with her self-care days. The messages all ended with something like, "See you in the silence." She had built a brand around that room. And I wasn't her husband in that story. I was the funding, the cover story, the background noise. It hurt. Of course it hurt. But pain was now fuel. I needed to protect myself, my sanity, my finances, my dignity. So I stopped watching the tapes with emotion. I started watching them like an editor, frame by frame, scene by scene. I backed up all the data onto 2 encrypted drives, one hidden in my office drawer, the other mailed to a friend across the country. If she ever tried to turn this around on me, to make me the villain, I had receipts. But that wasn't my goal. I didn't want to destroy her. I wanted her to destroy herself. And that would require patience. I couldn't act yet. Not while she still thought she was winning. I needed her to keep playing the role, to keep trusting the silence. So I smiled more, brought her flowers one evening, suggested a weekend retreat, just the 2 of us, to reconnect. She hesitated, then agreed. That night, she texted someone under the name Sage Cloud. Out of town this weekend. I'll need the room Monday. Same time. I laughed out loud in the garage. She was rescheduling her affair like a Zoom meeting. I added it to the spreadsheet. Now I had what I needed. Footage, audio, patterns, dates, her digital trail. What I didn't have yet was the finale. But that would come. And when it did, she wouldn't even hear it coming. Just like I didn't. By now, I didn't see Lily as my wife anymore. She was a character in a story I hadn't written. A carefully constructed illusion that had been living beside me for years. And the more I peeled back, the more masks I found. It started with a birthday post. One of our mutual friends, Rachel, from her book club, shared a throwback photo on Instagram. Lily was in it, laughing, holding a wine glass, wearing a red scarf I'd never seen before. The caption read, "Can't believe it's already been 2 years since our goddess retreat. Weekend. Love you, at Soluna 27 Dizzy Yellow Heart." At Soluna 27? I clicked the tag. It led to a private Instagram account I had never seen. Profile picture, a blurry sunset. Bio, healer, listener, lover of silence. Sparkle's DM for energy work and clarity sessions. The account had over 3,000 followers. And it was her. Not Lily, my wife. But Soluna, a completely different persona. Free-spirited, mysterious, seductive in a spiritual kind of way. She had posts from retreats in Sedona, Joshua Tree, Big Sur, places she'd never told me she visited. One post caught my eye. A selfie of her with 2 women, all in white, barefoot in the grass. Caption: "When you live your truth, you attract sacred love. Grateful for my divine reflection. Dizzy Dove." Comments like, "So beautiful together. You 2 have that twin flame vibe. Tell him he's one lucky soul." Tell who? I scrolled. Another post. This time, her in the silent room. Back turned to the camera. Bare shoulders. Dim light. Caption: "Nothing exists here but breath and body. No judgment. No noise. No guilt." My stomach turned. She was romanticizing her affairs. Selling the fantasy of secret, sacred love, while I, the husband, was never once mentioned. Not in the tags. Not in the captions. I had been erased. But it didn't stop there. I checked the list of people she followed. That's when my blood went cold. One of the top accounts at _. It was Daniel. Daniel was my college friend. We hadn't been close recently, but we'd kept in touch. He'd even stayed at our house during a conference last year. And here he was, commenting hearts and sun emojis under her photos. His own account? Full of artsy shots, pseudo-poetic quotes, and 2 posts where Lily was clearly in the background. She'd been seeing him, too. Under my nose. That's when I realized. Lily hadn't just been cheating. She was building an ecosystem around it. A whole identity. A digital persona that didn't include me at all. Her spiritual life wasn't a side project. It was a second life. I dug deeper. She had an Etsy page under the same Soluna name, selling crystals, guided meditations, and even online silent sessions. One of the reviews read, "Felt so intimate and connected. She really holds space with love. I can't wait to book the in-person version again." Revolving hearts. I wasn't sure if I wanted to scream or laugh. She had monetized her betrayal, branded it, marketed it. She wasn't hiding in the shadows. She was thriving in them. But here's the catch. When you build a brand, you leave a footprint. And Lily had gotten sloppy. In a cached version of one deleted blog post, she had accidentally used our real last name. It only appeared once, in a credit line for a photo. That connected Sol Luna directly to Lily Harper. And that was all I needed. Because while she'd spent her time making a fantasy world where she was adored and untouchable, I had built a record of reality. And reality always wins. Eventually, that night, I sat at the kitchen table and looked across at her while she scrolled through her phone, smiling. She had no idea what I knew. No idea that her walls were starting to crumble. And still, I smiled back. Because soon, those walls would fall. Not because I pushed them, but because she never built them on truth in the first place. Revenge, when done right, isn't loud. It doesn't kick down doors or shout from rooftops. It smiles politely, signs paperwork, moves accounts, and watches as the ground disappears beneath the traitor's feet quietly. That was the plan now. I wasn't interested in catching Lily in the act anymore. She had already committed herself to a role I didn't need to interrupt. All I had to do was let her keep performing. I started by talking to a lawyer. Not the dramatic, I'm getting a divorce kind of meeting, just an informational consultation. I told him I was hypothetically concerned about protecting my assets in case of unexpected life changes. He smiled, said he hears that all the time. We drafted a basic protection strategy. Separate bank account under my name only. Asset inventory. Quiet title transfer of my pre-marriage property. Change of beneficiaries on my life insurance. I asked about digital evidence. He said, if it comes to court, context matters more than content. But if you ever need to explain the context, better to have too much than too little. I had plenty. Next, I made moves she couldn't see. I took a few unpaid days off work, but told Lily I had a men's mindfulness retreat. She nodded approvingly, probably proud that her lifestyle was rubbing off on me. I used those days to meet with a financial planner and open a new account. Transferred enough to feel secure, but not enough to raise red flags. Then I changed passwords, created backups, bought a second phone, burner style, locked down, no connections to my name. On it, I stored all my files, screenshots, account links, and even timestamped recordings neatly organized by category. I was building a fortress. I also began therapy. Not couples therapy, my therapy. I needed a professional space where I could speak without being watched, evaluated, or manipulated. My therapist, Jared, was calm, direct, and didn't flinch when I told him I was planning something calculated. He said, "You're not crazy. You're hurt. And you're trying to survive without starting a war." That stuck with me. Because this wasn't a war I wanted. This was an escape plan. An exit from the script she wrote for me. At home, I became gentler, warmer, more present. Lily thought it was growth, healing, surrender. She'd say things like, "You're glowing lately. This new energy in you. It's beautiful." I'd just smile and nod. I didn't need her to feel guilty. I needed her to feel comfortable. Because people only make mistakes when they're not afraid. And I needed her to mess up just a little more. So I fed her trust. I printed her retreat flyers, proofread her Sol Luna blog posts, even helped her ship out Etsy packages. One night, she left her laptop open. I saw a message pop up from someone saved as A. It read, "I missed your voice in the silence." She laughed and typed, "Monday, same place." I didn't react. I didn't take a photo. I didn't even breathe funny. I just turned and said, "Want tea?" She said, "That would be perfect." It was working. The calmer I was, the more open she became. She began telling me about her clients, her growth, her intuitive downloads. She didn't know I had already downloaded everything, even the things she deleted. I wasn't rushing the ending. No, I was setting a stage. And if I did it right, she'd walk onto it herself, smiling, unaware of the trap under her feet. Because revenge doesn't need to be loud. It just needs to be final. They say revenge is best served cold. I say it's best served calculated. With timing. With grace. With silence. I had everything I needed now. Footage. Documents. Patterns. Names. Even the script she'd written for herself. All that was left was to build the stage. And I knew exactly where. Lily's favorite space, outside the silent room, was the downtown Aurelia Gallery. A clean, modern art space with soft lighting, wine at every opening, and a curator who spoke in metaphors and linen suits. His name? Elliot. One of her companions. I'd seen him in 2 separate recordings. One of her twin flame types. The spiritual intellectual kind. She once told me Elliot understood her frequency. I told her I was happy she had friends who resonated with her. She smiled. Kiss me on the cheek. God, she was so confident. A month before our anniversary, I emailed the gallery under a pseudonym with a proposal for a sound installation titled The Silent Room. An experimental piece made of layered, distorted audio fragments. The theme: the breakdown of intimacy in spaces designed for healing. I even created a sample. Used real clips from her recordings, warped, reversed, chopped up until it was legal but haunting. Whispers, footsteps, breath, muffled phrases like, "He doesn't ask questions. This room is sacred. No guilt here." The gallery loved it. Said it was hauntingly current. Elliot himself emailed back with excitement, saying, "This is the kind of vulnerability we need more of in modern art." Oh, Elliot, you have no idea. I told Lily I had a surprise anniversary evening planned. She lit up, asked what to wear. I said, something elegant, gallery appropriate. She assumed I had booked a dinner and art date. And she wasn't wrong. The day before, I went to the gallery early and made sure the installation was perfectly arranged. A single darkroom, one speaker, a cushioned floor, and the name, The Silent Room, etched on the wall. No video, just sound. Sound that only she would recognize. That night, she got ready with extra care. Hair curled, perfume light. She looked stunning, I'll admit. And I watched her like a stranger. Not with love, not with hate, just fascination. She asked, "Where are we going?" I just smiled. "You'll see." We walked into the gallery hand in hand. She didn't notice Elliot at first, but he noticed her. His smile wavered. She stiffened slightly, but said nothing. We walked through 2 other installations before we reached the final room. I let her step in first. The room was dim, quiet. One beam of soft light. A low hum from the corner speaker. She looked around, intrigued. "What's this?" I said, "Something new. It's called The Silent Room." Then the audio began. A slow crescendo of overlapping whispers. A breath. A giggle. Her voice. "He never asks questions." She froze. Another phrase, twisted by audio layering. "I feel safest here." She turned to me, color draining from her face. But I was already stepping back, out of the room. A few others had followed us in. Guests. Wine glasses in hand. The whispers continued. "No guilt here. He trusts me too much." She stood in the center of the room, trapped in her own echo. And then came the last sound. Her laughter. Spliced. Distorted. Echoing. I watched through the glass. Her hand trembled. Elliot entered the room. Their eyes met. Silence. I didn't need to say anything. The installation said everything. No accusations. No names. No pointing fingers. Just truth, wrapped in art. And the beautiful thing about art? It lasts. The beautiful thing about truth is this: it doesn't need to shout. It lingers. It stains. And once it's out, it can't be put back. Lily tried to act like nothing happened that night. Tried to breathe through it. Smile past it. But the echo followed her home. The next morning, she was quiet. Distracted. Kept checking her phone. No usual humming. No herbal tea. She barely touched her breakfast. I didn't ask. I didn't offer comfort. She finally broke the silence around lunch. "Did you know about that exhibit ahead of time?" I looked her in the eye. Calm. "I thought it might interest you." She stared at me, searching for anger or accusation. But I gave her nothing. And that unsettled her more than any confrontation could have. That evening, she got a message from Elliot. I didn't read it. Didn't need to. I heard the vibration, saw her glance, her throat tighten. She didn't reply. Not right away. And when she did, it was short. Dismissive. Later that week, I checked his profile. His latest post? Deleted. The one where she had appeared in the background? Gone too. His followers were whispering in the comments. Was that from the Silent Room installation? This feels shady now. Yikes. The cracks had begun. But the collapse wasn't instant. It was slow. Deliciously slow. First, one of her clients posted an odd review on Etsy. "I used to love her sessions, but something feels off now. The energy isn't clean." Then her Instagram engagement dropped. DMs stopped rolling in. Retreat signups quiet. She blamed Mercury retrograde. I blamed karma. 2 weeks later, her photo appeared in a local blog. Is healing the new hiding? A think piece on faux spiritual influencers and the dangers of emotional manipulation disguised as mindfulness. Her back was turned in the picture, but the scarf was unmistakable. Red. Flowing. The retreat goddess. They never named her. but anyone who followed her would know. She read the article in bed, face tight, fingers stiff, then closed the laptop and stared at the ceiling for over an hour. I never said a word. Meanwhile, I bloomed. I joined a small men's group focused on rebuilding trust and identity after betrayal. I picked up photography again, started journaling, began ghostwriting anonymously for wellness blogs, ironically, the same niche she'd once ruled. People began asking me for advice, for feedback, not because I told them my story, but because something about my silence made them listen. Lily started retreating. The smiles faded. Her stories grew shorter. Her posture shrinking. Once she asked, "Do you still love me?" I didn't lie. "I don't think I ever really knew you well enough to answer that." She cried. Not loudly, not theatrically, just quietly, like someone realizing their echo was no longer being returned. By the end of the month, I had moved my belongings to a new place. I told her I needed space for stillness. She didn't fight, didn't beg, just stood there, watching me leave with a half-folded blanket in my arms. I paused at the door, turned back and said, "You always said silence was healing. Now it's yours. All of it." And then I closed the door behind me. Every manipulator has one last card, one final move, and it's always the same. Play the victim. Lily waited almost 2 weeks after I left. Then, one afternoon, my phone buzzed with a text from her. Short, simple. "Can we talk?" I stared at the screen for a long time, then replied, "You can talk. I'll listen." We agreed to meet at a neutral place, an empty cafe in the corner of town where no one knew us. I chose a seat by the window. She arrived 10 minutes late. Not on purpose, I think. Just unsettled. She looked different. Thinner. Paler. Eyes heavier. The woman who once glowed with spiritual superiority now looked hollow. She sat across from me without a word. Just sipped from a bottle of water. Then finally, I don't know what happened to us. I blinked once. Really? She avoided my eyes. I just felt disconnected. Lost. I was trying to find something that felt real. I let silence do the talking. She continued. "I know I hurt you. I wasn't trying to destroy anything. I just drifted. And then it got complicated. And I didn't know how to stop. No apology. Just explanation. Typical. Then came the pivot. But I've been thinking, maybe this was the shake-up we needed. Maybe we can rebuild. Realign. Start over from a more honest place." She even reached for my hand. And in that moment, I realized something. She hadn't learned. She'd lost control, but not the instinct. This wasn't remorse. It was strategy. She was hoping the man I used to be, the quiet, supportive, forgiving version, was still sitting across from her. He wasn't. I gently pulled my hand away. "You're not talking to the same man anymore." She froze. "You had your own little world, Lily. A fantasy built on lies and lighting and curated whispers. But the truth is, I stopped existing in your story a long time ago. And now, you've stopped existing in mine." Tears welled in her eyes. But not out of heartbreak. Out of shock. Out of disbelief that her last move didn't land. "So that's it?" she whispered. "No. That was it a long time ago. This is just the silence after." She didn't follow me out of the cafe. Didn't shout. Didn't chase. Just sat there. Watching. As if listening for an echo. But this time, there was none. Only her reflection in the glass. And mine walking away. I used to think silence was a void. An empty space. Something you escaped from with noise, people, or plans. Now I know better. Silence is not the absence of sound. It's the absence of performance. And for the first time in my adult life, I wasn't performing for anyone. 6 months after walking out of that cafe, I was living alone in a small apartment near the coast. It wasn't fancy. No crystals, no incense, no curated lighting. Just open windows. Natural light. A balcony with a broken chair I hadn't bothered to fix. It was perfect. I woke up without tension in my chest. I brewed coffee without glancing at my phone. I sat in silence, not to prove anything, not to heal, just to be. I reconnected with my brother. Started volunteering twice a week. Mentorship for teens navigating trauma and trust. One of them asked me, "How did you get through everything without going crazy?" I told him the truth. I stopped trying to fix what someone else broke. That landed, even for me. One evening, I walked past a yoga studio with "Sound Healing Tonight" on a chalkboard. There was a soft chant playing inside. It didn't trigger me. I smiled. Not because I missed it, but because it no longer owned a single piece of me. Lily never reached out again. Not directly. I heard through a mutual friend that she had closed the Soluna account, sold the Etsy shop, started attending a real therapist. Not the online kind with mantras and sliding scale sessions, but someone credentialed, someone grounded. That was good. I wanted her to heal, just not near me. I never released the footage, never named her publicly, never wrote the revenge blog I could have easily monetized. Because in the end, I didn't need to destroy her. I just needed to walk away from the version of myself who thought love meant sacrifice without limits. And once I did it, there was room for someone else to show up. Me. Now, I take long walks without checking the time. I smile at strangers without fear. I sit on that broken chair and write for no audience. Sometimes, I light a candle and close my eyes. I breathe deeply, and I hear nothing but the sound of the sea in the distance. It's not loud. It's not profound, but it's real. And that, after everything, is enough.